Hello, everybody. I brought you a very special guest this week for our experts interview. Her name is Anna Fernandez from Lotus. They're based in Miami, but with the beauty of coronavirus, now she's also working with Zoom, so he can reach more of you out there. So I was attracted to her work because, like I've said before, in this space, I want to bring you lawyers that represent the different ways of doing conflict resolution and divorce. And Anna Fernandez has actually prepared a mediation book for us. I'm going to put it on the show notes so you guys can go and find it. But she's also going to talk to us today about the beauty, the benefits, the good, the bad, and the ugly of mediation. So, Anna, thank you so much for being here, and you're welcome to the group.
Olga, thank you so much for having me. It's really beautiful what you're doing, and your community is just wonderful. It's great to have people to be able to speak to reach out to, and to provide advice to. So I really, really am thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I love that we have a lawyer with your experience that can tell us more about how do we do mediation. That's something that a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't know. Is that even an option?
Well, it's funny because here, at least in Florida, and I'm pretty sure in most states, especially California and Hawaii and different areas, if there's, for example, a child involved in a divorce, it's automatic you will go to mediation. The court automatically sends you to mediation if you don't already have an agreement. If there's property involved, mediation is another tool you want to use, because at the end of the day, mediation gives you the opportunity to finalize the case under your terms. Of course, if it's, if you both agree. If not, you have to take it to a court that, although we have great judges, and I love the judges in Miami, they have hundreds of cases. The only person that knows the case more than anyone else is yourself and the other party. So who better to resolve it and put it in writing than yourself and the other party? But of course, you have to be in agreement in order for that to be the option.
Is there a big difference between collaborative divorce and mediation?
Well, I would say yes, there's a difference. And the main difference is with collaborative law, you have two qualified attorneys. You also have a qualified professional, a therapist, and you may have an accountant or a CPA that looks into the finances and other professionals. Now, if the goal for collaborative is, hey, we're all working together, let's get this into an agreement. There's also a mediator involved as well. So, but you have a lot of professionals that are guiding you through the process. Now, if there's no agreement and you have to file for divorce, collaborative law does not allow you to have the same lawyer that you had representing you through the collaborative process to then file the divorce for you. So it's very emotional to some people, because you're giving your trust to somebody, and they know your story, they know what's going on, they know the other spouse, and they know the players of the game, and then you kind of have to let them go and get someone else. So it's another emotional hurdle that you would have to go through. But you could also go to mediation before you file a divorce. So yes, I guess the main difference would be is if you have a marriage that has a lot of properties, for example, a lot of kids, or just a lot of issues, and you have those professionals there that could help you through the process, that's great. It doesn't mean that you can't get that on your own. You could do that as well. But mediation, it's, you can go there with or without a lawyer, with or without a therapist or a psychologist, and just have an agreed upon mediator that, again, a mediator does not have a side, cannot legally advise you to do something, but they kind of like lay everything out on the table and say, hey, based on my experience, I think a judge is most likely to go this way. And that's very, very useful, because they're also helping you and guiding you through an agreement, or with the goal of making an agreement to avoid litigation. So I guess to answer your question, there is a difference, but the end game is the same. You're avoiding conflict. They're both alternatives to conflict and to disputes, and they're both available. So it's definitely two great options to check out.
Which is the most important thing that I want everybody to walk out of this with. There are alternatives. I say that the problem that we find with divorce is that we've been giving one diet for everybody, and we know that doesn't work. Each individual should have the opportunity, the possibility of tailor the kind of divorce that they want. So if somebody comes to you and says, look, I don't know which one is the type of divorce that I need to have, how do you guide them into, okay, maybe your mediation will be the option for you. Maybe you do need to lawyer up and go to court. How do you tell this diet works for you better than this other?
So the first question I usually ask is, are there kids? You know, that's the number one thing. It's funny because we actually have an acronym, and it's PEACE, PEACE. The first thing you always do with a divorce is P is parenting. You find out, how do you want to split the parental responsibility? How is this going to be the schedule? Children are always number one. Then E is equitable distribution. Are there properties? Is there property? Are there stocks? Are there, bank accounts? And that sort of thing. If the answer to those two questions are yes, my next question would be, do you agree? Have you spoken to the other spouse, and are you in agreement with how you're going to divide your time with the kids and divide your assets? And if they have spoken about it and they have an idea, then I would say that that's a good, that case would be good for either mediation or somehow sitting down. You don't even need to go to mediation to come up with an agreement with your other spouse. There's a lot of resources out there. As long as you speak to a professional, you make sure that it's legit, you can sit down and come up with an agreement, and that's great. And that's usually how I gauge it. If they don't have an agreement, then I would highly recommend that you definitely speak to an attorney and have the other spouse also speak to an attorney, because it's very difficult if there's only one attorney involved, because the attorney that's representing one of the parties could only represent that party, and it gets a little bit difficult, because when you have a professional telling someone these are your rights or this is what's most likely going to happen, then they put their trust in an attorney. But if they're hearing from so-and-so and this is the way it's supposed to be, and they're not properly educated, then that creates a lot of problems, and it kind of drags itself. So I highly recommend that you speak to a professional, even if it's, a coach like Olga, or a therapist, or an attorney, but someone that knows what they're doing, if there are property and, children issues from the start.
Is it your experience that divorce has a whole spectrum of how complicated it gets? And I feel that we sometimes think it all comes down to the individuals, but to me, it's more about the circumstances. Like what you just said, it's a high conflict divorce for me is not necessarily because you have people who can't communicate anymore. Because to be honest, when people come to me for the divorce, they rarely know how to communicate anymore. They need help on that respect, and they're hurt. The other one is always a narcissist or borderline. But to me, it's all about how complicated is the case. That's what's going to escalate it. So what you just said about children and assets and liabilities, that to me is the case. If you guys have no children, no assets and no liabilities, like seriously, go to a bar, sign up the documents, and be done.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no point. Why are you're fighting for nothing? You're just throwing your money out and your emotion. It's not rewarding. No one really walks away from that happy. I'm with you on that 100%.
And then when you go, okay, so you do have children and you do have assets and liabilities, then to me it becomes, how willing to learn are you? How willing to understand the process are you? Because for me, one of the most distinguishing features that I think between, this is going to be an easy divorce or a complicated divorce, is the people who come to me and say, no, I'm just going to do it myself. And I go, yeah, the DIY, it's for, I don't know, building a cabinet in your house. If you want to be that adventurous, you can Google it. But when it comes to divorce, I call the DIY the FIY, which is you want to fuck it yourself. Because seriously, it's such a complicated process that I always say, get a lawyer. If you don't want to pay for a whole lawyer, I get it. If you've been freaked out by a lawyer that, like it happened in my case, wasn't listening to me, we would have taken the path of destruction. Try and find another one, but find help. I think that the process of divorce is so complicated, and I'm not just talking about the legalities and logistics of it. I think that emotionally is so taxing that trying to do it alone, to me, it's equal to, you're going to have a high conflict divorce. Even if your spouse is a vegetable and is not going to argue, you yourself are going to complicate it so much, because it's almost like you trying to find your way in the darkness. So what do you say to people that come to you and say, yeah, I wanted the cheapest and the least intervention in my divorce. How do you guide them into, well, you're going to need help for this?
Well, that's a great question. And, I had a lot of people there, at the end of the day, not everyone can afford an attorney. That's just the reality of that. It is what it is. What's awesome though is that most of us have the internet, and there's a lot of really good resources. I know Miami-Dade and Florida courts, they offer free forms online. Again, that's not a proper replacement for an attorney. It's not. And it's very important to at least speak to, like I mentioned, like a professional like yourself, a therapist, or an attorney, just to get a base of what your rights are if you do have kids, and also if you have property. If you don't have kids and property, like really take a deep breath. And, I would say maybe you do qualify for a do-it-yourself, or it wouldn't be an FIY, which I love that, by the way. I'm probably going to use that in the future. It wouldn't be that bad, but you could most likely get away with at least, starting the process and maybe asking someone, like, where do I file it? Because those are the things, like the technical stuff, they do get a little complicated. But honestly, if there are other things, there's very good resources out there. If you qualify as an indigent person and you don't have the funds, then there are nonprofits out there. We have a Dade Legal Aid. Almost every county has a legal aid. And if you do qualify, that is a great option, but you have to qualify. You have to be able to show that there's a need for representation, and that, that you would qualify under Dade Legal Aid standards. And we also develop packages for our clients that cannot afford an attorney, where it's semi a do-it-yourself, but it's very, very like holding your hand and walking you through the process with highlights and instructions and videos. So that's also a good alternative too. And let me tell you, the cost of an attorney can get expensive if you want to litigate. But if you know what you want and the other party is in agreement with that, then it's worth it if you think it's expensive, and it shouldn't be expensive from the start.
What is, in your experience, the average time and cost of the divorces that you guys handle?
So if it's uncontested, meaning both parties agree to divorce, if there's property, then you know how you're going to divide it. Maybe you need help in writing down an agreement on how it's going to be divided, but you already have an idea of that. There's no dispute. And even if you have kids, you could also do a non-contested. Of course, if you know how time is going to be divided, and then child support is child support. It's statutory, it's calculated, so you can't argue that. So going back to your question on how much it would normally cost, if it's uncontested and an agreement, it's usually between $1,000 to $1,500 to have an attorney do it for you. Without an attorney, our packages start at $750, and it gives you all of the documents that you need, one-time phone call, and resources, videos, and that sort of thing. Timing. If everything and all the ducks are in a row, and you have the agreement from beginning to end, from here's the retainer, I'm paying you for your services for an uncontested, we fill out everything, it's filed, I would say maybe the quickest I've done it is in 3 days. And that's, that's uncontested. And it's because it usually takes about 1 day to draft all the documents, have all the parties sign everything. And then once you file everything, it takes at least, I would say at maximum 24 hours to get a case number. And once you have the case number, you could find out who your judge is. And that's where you fill out the paperwork. And now with Zoom, everything is, you don't have to have a hearing. So like you could file the appropriate paperwork where you avoid having to go to court in the first place. So like, and I'll tell you, Olga, really quickly, I would say it was like the second week of COVID. I divorced 2 people in that same week, and it literally from beginning to end took like 3 days, each of them. It was incredible because courts are no longer, as long as you have a valid identification card that shows that you've been living in the jurisdiction that you're see, all of these technical terms, those are something that an attorney could explain to you. But if you show an ID and an affidavit, then you don't have to go to court now, which is great.
I love that. I've heard that from another lawyer that was saying, actually, we thought that this whole COVID was going to be a nightmare. And for a while, the courts were closed and nothing was happening. But she was saying the same. She said once they open up, now doing it online is like so much faster. And I'm like, God bless
It's
this.
a breeze. Yeah, it's really a breeze. And I mean, and this is if it's no conflict, you know, like if it's uncontested, you know, with or without kids, it doesn't matter. As long as there's an agreement, you can do it very, very quickly. If it's contested though, that's a different story.
What is your contested average?
Contested, it depends on the issues. Usually the reason why it would take long is usually because the judge's calendar. And then I'm not saying anything against the judge. It's just, it's normally to get to that process. There's a lot of timing. For example, every divorce requires mandatory disclosures. It's not the case with uncontested divorces, but mandatory disclosures are like copies of bank statements, copies of financials, even insurance, leases, things that, you know, that could be considered marital assets, marital property. All of that needs to be exchanged within like 45 days. So all of these timing and deadlines, they add up until you can finally ask the court, hey, the case is ready for trial. Then that's when you kind of have to wait for a trial date. And that's why mediation is a perfect thing to do in between. Because if you can get an agreement, even if you can get a partial agreement, if you could say, let's say you could agree to how you're going to spend time with your kids, but you don't know who's going to keep the house, that issue could be left for the judge and you could put everything else in writing, and that would be called a partial agreement.
What are the biggest blocks that you find that it's like, okay, we're hitting it, and all the contested cases usually find that block?
Well, it's okay, well, the truth is usually when one party doesn't really want or is having a hard time accepting the separation, when you see that, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad or a battle or it's going to take long, but almost always in cases that have issues, it's because one party is just either upset, is not ready, is just, you could tell that their emotions are what's driving what's going on, and they're not really thinking logically, or just, I don't want to say normal, but just not rationally. So that's usually what causes, and Florida's a no-fault divorce. Most states are no-fault divorces. You can get divorced just because you want to. You don't need a reason to divorce. But when people know that, what's another way to make this drag out? Let's create problems. And yeah, it could be from not wanting one parent to see the other child. Let's say one parent has another girlfriend or boyfriend, and then, I don't want my children around them. It's usually when there's kids involved, which is really sad. It's just, that's the hard part. That's when it's hard, when there's kids involved and the parents just don't agree on how they want to divide their time with the kids.
And then in those cases, eventually through mediation, you feel that they reached agreement, or those cases tend to end up in court and the judge just makes the decision for them?
Most of the time, cases resolve in mediation. I would say, like, the cases that I don't do, well, when I'm the attorney, but because look, it's at the end of the day, you need someone that's going to tell you this is the best scenario, this is a worst case scenario. If we take it to trial, we risk it. If we don't take it to trial, we could actually meet halfway and it might be better. That sort of thing. That's why you have to have a good advocate on your side. So I would say 75% of my cases settle in mediation, or at least have a partial agreement. But let's say you agree to how the kid is, how you're going to spend your time with kids. That's sometimes, and I would say most of the time, that there is an issue that is resolved for the trial. It has to do with retroactive child support, or something having to do with finances. Because at the end of the day, the law is very clear that the best case scenario, each kid spends time with their parents on a 50-50 basis. That's ideal to anybody. Of course, that's not always the case, because some parents work at night, and who's going to help the kids with the homework and that sort of thing. And then, if you take that type of argument to the judge, I can give you a very good idea of how the judge will rule, but some people will want to take that risk anyways, because, why not? And that's usually when things are delayed and, where you see the problems come in.
That's why I always advocate that we separate the divorce process into the emotional part and the legal part of it. And I think that if you don't do the emotional part beforehand, you're just gonna be hitting all these blocks that you go like, well, it's legalities. It's not really legalities. It's us being hurt humans. That's all it takes. And then it's like trying to find before you go into court. And I've seen it with some people. It's like they'd rather have nuclear annihilation than reaching an agreement. But they're in that.
Right? It's crazy.
But I get it, and I say sometimes to me, divorce is almost like being drunk for the whole duration of the period. You're in such a distress emotional environment that you're drunk, and yet you're being asked to sign documents about the rest of your life. So if you don't have that guiding support, that is like, okay, I know that you're drunk, but let me explain things to you, okay, and you kind of sober them up. Some people just go into the destructive path and they don't even know what they're doing, but they just go there. So I always, for me, it's like a little challenge that I love to get to. Is like, okay, we identify the emotional problem. Let's go and try and remove that before we start talking about, so is Thanksgiving happening with you or with me? And because it's like, let's go to the emotional problem first. And it can be all the way down to, you didn't take me to honeymoon where I wanted to. You are resentful about that, and you're going to take it all the way to the divorce. And I often tell them, divorce is not where you settle your emotional debts from the marriage. That happens in therapy. That happens with your new boyfriend, the Porsche that you buy to revenge on your whatever, but it doesn't happen in the divorce process, because that's how you end up in court, having a complete stranger telling you, oh, you both lose. Because that's the other part that I don't think that people understand. Once you give up the control, is what you were saying about, now we can't meet in the middle. Now it's somebody else is going to decide, and then good luck appealing that decision. So yeah, it's about, let's handle the emotions first.
Absolutely. And I tell most of my clients, it's okay, because a lot of clients too, to see a therapist or to see a coach, it's kind of like it's not within their realm, and it's like, I have a coach, I have a therapist, and it's just because we're human, and there are certain decisions as professionals, as a parent, as anybody really, you have to take your emotions aside, because at the end of the day, it's for your best interest, and for your kids' best interest, and for your family. So I am totally with you on that. I always recommend to my clients, when they are having that emotional hardship, because it happens, and that's normal. The best thing you can do is find a therapist. Do your research, Google somebody that you'll connect with that will be there, because at the end of the day, therapists, coaches, and all these professionals, they're looking from the outside in, and they're really looking out for your best interest. They're not trying to get anything from you other than, helping you move on. So it's very important to find these people, and like you, Olga, and Instagram and reviews on Google is a great way to find it.
Honestly, that's how I started changing my attitude towards lawyers, because I started getting clients referred from lawyers. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, this is not what I thought. I thought that you lawyers wanted to keep them on your payroll for as long as possible. And there were lawyers saying, I'm not a therapist. I feel terrible for this human. We cannot reach any agreement. I have plenty of work. They always say, in the divorce realm, you have plenty of work. You just don't want these people suffering anymore. And they started sending them to me. I work on emotions, and then it's like, okay, now they're ready. Here, they go back to you, and you're like, thank fuck, we did this together,
Right. No, that's excellent. And Olga, I'm going to try to refer you as many people as I can, because I know that you could definitely help them. And this is another benefit and a beauty of it is we're all working together to help you move on. That's really what our end game is. It's not about being in payroll, because let me tell you, a lot, as much as we hate seeing people suffer, we also kind of like take it on ourselves sometimes too. And, and no amount of money is worth that. And that's why it's very, I try to make it a point that it's not worth it, because by continuing on a lawsuit, you're spending more money, and you're doing this to yourself. It's unfortunate. And sometimes it's not as simple as, just let go. Sometimes it's the other spouse that is the one that's kind of like keeping it down. But that's when you would need professional help from an attorney that can just get the case in front of the judge, because if the other party is not willing to cooperate or sign an agreement, there are other things that you can do, like ask for fees when the case is frivolous, or when they're trying to delay it for no reason. And most attorneys know this, and most attorneys go for this because, you know, we want a resolution for everybody, because an amicable resolution that means your client's going to be happy. But if that doesn't work, then we'll take it to the end and we'll try to get fees, and that's how we try to do it. So.
And I really hope that everybody's getting this opening mind concept of there are options. Like I love when you said about 1,000 to 1,500, maybe in some cases 3 days. I know that's not the norm, but I just want people to know, because people come to me and be like, sorry, there is no money that I can spend. And I'm like, well, but if you're doing something in this world, you have to spend money. This is not the place where you want to save money. And let me tell you, you may be thinking, oh, it's going to be $20,000, $500,000, whatever your neighbor paid. No, we live in a very abundant world, and now you can do things at a price that you can afford. Just make sure that you remove that conditioning of, I want to do it cheaply, I want to do it fastly. Just, you want to do it right, because
exactly,
you're making huge decisions, not just for you, for your children too. So get whatever professional help you need to make sure that your kids are protected, you're protected, and even your ex. I always say, like, you don't ever want your ex to come out of the divorce thinking that they lost, because you're going to pay for it. And I see it all the time. You pay in your co-parenting until your kids leave the house and beyond that. So you always want everybody to walk out of there saying, oh, that was all right. We all won.
Yeah, and it happens. And that's the goal. And when I can do that, I'm so happy. And even judges are happy too. Congratulations. I've had judges applaud and say, congratulations, are you gonna go out tonight? And it's like, wow, we're all in this together. It's great. But yeah, again, seek out professional help, because it's really guidance that you need. And once you get that, once you're on the right path, the rest is history. So
yeah, to me, I call it's the difference between giving birth on your own in your kitchen or going to a hospital and getting the epidural. Like, I mean, for me,
there's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. So, sure, you both end up with a baby. Now, which experience would you want to repeat? And not that I'm saying we're going to repeat the divorce, but at least I feel that divorce is it can be such a traumatizing experience, or it can be a really empowering experience. So don't just let it happen to you. Just put the systems in place, gather your team, and make it an empowering experience. And the fact that now we have this new breed of professionals, divorce coaches, all that we're trying to do is that, to ensure that your divorce, it's empowering. If we did it, it's because it's possible. So now we just want to tell the world, it's here. There are lawyers like you who are going to lawyer up if needed. They're going to mediate. They're going to charge you what is fair. I just want people to know there are options. And oh my gosh, Anna, I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing. I hope that you guys could operate in the entire country, but
well, we're trying.
Florida at least.
Yeah. No, and what you're doing, Olga, is amazing too. We need more people like you to, cut the conflict and just kind of, peaceful resolution for everybody, and let everyone move on and be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everybody does.
Exactly.
Even your ex-spouse. So just kind of like end things and end them correctly and rationally and with a professional if needed.
I would say if you can have a divorce that you're proud of, that's something to aim for, as opposed to a divorce that is like, I'm so embarrassed, I can't believe I did this. And it's like, yeah, we don't have to do that anymore. Find the help, put yourself in the position to make sure that everybody wins. So I want everybody to go and check you out, Legal Lotus. Again, you give so much information out there. If anybody, especially in Florida, has any questions, I'm going to put all your information below. And definitely get the mediation book, right? Because that will be a good step for everybody to avoid court, avoid conflict.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Olga. It was truly a pleasure. And thank you for everything that you do for the community.
Thank you. Same. Thank you so much. And for everybody, we're recording this in Thanksgiving. That's how hardcore we are about our mission. We want everybody to know everything. But it will be airing in a couple of weeks. But Anna, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Olga. It was a pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye.